afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Back from the Grid podcast. My name is Cody, and we're here today with a huge podcast. We've got so much stuff ready for you. News and even more news. Matthew, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fabulously, Cody.
Hey, you said it correctly for once. Good job.
Fabulously.
Fabulously. That's a word, folks. That's a word.
I'm doing fabtastic.
Okay. All right, Matthew. Usually this is the part of the podcast where we talk about the games we have been playing.
Yes.
So what games have you been playing?
I've been playing a lot of Supreme Commander 2 recently. I ended up sending him a copy. I've been playing it a lot. I put 3 hours into it in one match last night. Playing against 4 other players.
There are still people playing that game?
Yeah. Shockingly enough.
Were you playing against bots?
I will admit I was playing a skirmish.
A skirmish?
A skirmish match where there's like 3 bots set on normal difficulty, which I played on Xbox originally. I played Supreme Commander 2 because it's I prefer it over the original. I played the original.
So Matthew, if someone is uneducated about these things, what is Supreme Commander 2?
Supreme Commander 2 is a real-time strategy game set with multiple different factions in a sci-fi environment where you can control land, air, and naval bases on different maps. You can take control of different factions with different units, abilities, and awesome structures. Like, for example, if you were to one faction, for example, has like nuke silos, which all of them do, but it also has defense silos mixed in with them. So you don't have to keep making 2 separate structures. They've got like an experimental, like, sentinel robot gigantic colossus monster. One has T-Rex cyborgs.
Those are a lot of fancy words, Matthew, that you're throwing out there. Lots of sci-fi and stuff.
And then one has teleporters, and they're super annoying. I hate those guys.
Like Zurg Rush or whatever.
Literally
some other game.
I think they're called Luminant, and I freaking hate them. Ooh. They have a thing called the Space Temple, and he could literally teleport hundreds of air units. In fact, he did into my base, destroyed my anti-nukes, and then proceeded to bombard my base with nukes.
Smart plan.
I hated him after that.
This game is an older game, correct?
It is.
When was it released?
I think sometime around 2006.
2006. Because I know it's a classic for a lot of people, but I've never played it myself.
It's so good.
We're going to have to play some of that. Good. Well, that's pretty cool, Matthew. You know what I've been playing?
What have you been playing, Cody?
Absolutely nothing.
He has no life.
I have no life. I have school and work. That's all I've got until December. But I do have... Well, we've got a segment, Matthew.
Oh, yeah?
We've got a segment. And this is the segment that everyone tunes in for.
Oh, yeah? Please inform me.
And today is a big moment. A big, big moment. Do you want to know why?
Tell me why.
Because everyone, now, if you're not sitting, you should be, because this is going to knock your socks off, is a way to say that. Mount & Blade Bannerlord is still not out yet, but it has a release date.
Wait, didn't it already have a release date?
Yes, but this one is more reliable. In March 2020, Mount & Blade Bannerlord will release in early access.
Watch they delayed again.
I'll so help me, I will burn the internet to the ground. No, this is awesome, and you should all go look at our social media at the posts that I made, and you should go find the trailer, because oh my goodness, the trailer is the best thing ever, and all of the things that it shows on there, it's like a teaser trailer, but oh my gosh, it's gonna be great, guys. It's gonna be great. And in the spirit of that, we're gonna talk a little bit about Mount & Blade Bannerlord, or what we know so far. So for those of you who don't know, and this is like your first ever time listening to our podcast, Mount & Blade Bannerlord is a game. It's a sequel to Mount & Blade Warband, which is a sequel, I believe, to Mount & Blade or like an expansion to Mount and Blade. I'm not quite sure how that one works because I never played the original
Magic.
Mount and Blade. Magic.
It
There is
is.
actually no magic in this game, but it is set in sort of a medieval, very low fantasy setting. Not much at all, but kind of, sort of. It's a game where you create a character and kind of like in Skyrim, you go around and you adventure and you know, fight people, but not like in Skyrim. You are building an army and trying to, you know, fight wars and there's politics and the games just go super deep and stuff. But one of the biggest issues with Mount and Blade Warband was that the game was built in an engine that was not designed for such things as like sieges and stuff. So the sieges ended up being you load into a map and there's a ladder laying on the side of a castle, and now all your troops have to run up that tiny ladder and get slaughtered while the defenders fight you. So yeah, that was fun. However, Mount and Blade Bannerlord, one of the great things about it is it's going to have actual siege mechanics. So you can go around, you can adventure, you can break down walls and build your army and, you know, build siege engines, and you can sally out of the gates if you're defending with your cavalry army to defend your castle. And oh my god, it looks so good, guys. I'm so excited.
He is super excited. I could look at his face, and he doesn't usually smile. Usually his face is just resting, angry, org face. But now it's like legitimately excitement. Wow.
Yes.
Fight me.
Yes. Sorry, I had to take a drink there. But yeah, Mount and Blade Bannerlord is coming out March 2020. Early access is... Okay, so yeah, I should probably mention that. So I think I saw a lot of people getting irritated by the fact that it's being released in early access. What I have to say to those people is I don't care. It's being released. Take what you can get, guys. I mean, come on. I get that it's kind of disappointing that it'll be releasing in early access when they were talking about like, oh yeah, we want to develop it to the point where it'll be fine. But just because it's in early access does not mean it won't be polished and developed and stuff. But the early access phase could just be for, you know, sort of like a beta kind of deal. I mean, we don't know how it's going to turn out when it's in early access. It looks like there's already a lot of stuff there. So I have high hopes for Mount and Blade Bannerlord, Matthew.
Let's crush some internet.
Let's crush them. Okay, well, that's Mount and Blade Bannerlord, which I think that's the end of that series, of that little thing that we had going at the beginning of every episode, because it's got a release date now. So there's no point
you gotta count it down now.
That's
what you gotta do.
Right. Yes.
Till it's fully released, so you can just like keep talking about it.
Right now, I'll just assume that it's March 1st because we didn't get an exact date, because yeah, that's awesome that we don't have an exact date. It's in a month, so I'll just assume it's the 1st of March. I can't do the math in my head right now, but next episode we will have the countdown to Mount and Blade Bannerlord release.
You know what we should do, Cody? We should
Matthew?
put on the website a countdown calendar.
That sounds
day.
like a fun job for you,
Oh,
Matthew.
yeah. Let's do it. Let's just do it. And then when it does happen, we'll just make the website go offline as to represent how you will be when it comes out.
Oh, yeah. Like, we'll just be radio silent over here. I'm going to quit my jobs and just, like, hermit myself in a room. No, I think I'll actually probably, because at that point I'll be done with college and then hopefully be more stabilized. So I'm probably going to do some videos on Mount and Blade Bannerlord, so keep a lookout for that. But we'll see what happens. That's a long ways away. But Matthew, we've got the next segment to go to.
Oh, yeah? Please
And
inform
this
me.
is a big segment. It's our favorite segment. Everybody loves. It's nostalgia. We're going to talk about things that make us nostalgic and classic things and awesome things. And today, we're talking about big releases of films or games that either blew you away or that fell flat. So like a movie that you were waiting for years finally came out and it was garbage. Or a movie you weren't expecting much from came out and it was like one of the best you've ever seen. Or that same thing with games. So Matthew.
Oh, boy.
Take it away.
Batman versus Superman. Drop mic. That's all I need to say.
Okay, but did you really think that was going to be good?
Yes! I did. I thought everyone and their mother thought it was going to be good. Like, everyone did. And then it flopped completely because Zack Snyder was conflicted. He didn't know what he wanted to do with the film. And honest to God, I feel like he should have waited to release a film like this. Literally, that's just the DCEU and just a whole. They rushed everything because they wanted to get to Marvel's point where they were. But the thing with the big difference between DCEU and Marvel is that the DCEU rushed everything. Marvel had like a decade to set up all of its films for its like big, like how many films to like here, for example, Avengers, which that's what Justice League tries to imitate. I'm sorry if anybody's irritated by that statement. Fight me. Anyway.
I don't think anyone listening to our podcast thinks that DC's movies are any better than Marvel's. But continue.
But anyway, let's compare those two for example. Like as far as the characters go, how many movies did Marvel had?
Well, you had the Iron Man movie.
Yeah.
You had the Hulk movie. You had the Thor movie. You had the Captain America movie. I feel like there was one more that I'm forgetting, but either 4 or 5 movies
Iron
to
Man
set
2.
up the Avengers. There we go. 5 movies to set up the Avengers.
And how many did before Justice League did the DCEU had?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it was only like
3?
Yeah, it was Batman versus Superman. I think Suicide Squad came out before then.
But is that really part of the
very
the
little?
DCEU?
I mean, it teased some of the heroes because in the film it teased the Flash, but it didn't do any world building as far as that, and it showed off the Superman. I feel like it just more or less expanded the universe. Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And
Superman.
That's about it. Yeah, Superman. That's about
and then
it.
Batman.
No, they didn't have a Batman film.
Oh, is this okay? So the Batman films are separate then.
No, if you're thinking about Christopher Nolan, that's in a separate universe. That's not part of the DCEU.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to these things because I don't really care for DC that much. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that all DC movies are bad or that all Marvel movies are better than DC. That's not what I'm saying. But in general, as a whole, combining both of the movies series together, Marvel beats out DC. Is what I'm saying.
And I feel like the biggest thing that was one of the things that attributed to that film's not lackluster success. But I feel like the biggest thing that kept that movie from being decent is it didn't follow the source material. Because there was, if you actually read the comics, and if you really do want a Batman versus Superman film that was decent, go watch the animated film because it was split off into 2 parts, and that film closely follows the actual comic book of The Dark Knight, and it is amazing. I totally recommend giving that a watch. It is going to be 10 times better than the actual film was, because the film, the biggest problem is it had an identity crisis, because Zack Snyder did not know what he wanted this film to be, because at the same time of it trying to copy the Dark Knight comic strip, it also tried doing the Death of Superman comic book strip with Doomsday. And then it also had to set up all these characters for the Justice League. So in the end of the day, it just felt like a convoluted mess that didn't know what it wanted to do.
Well, Matthew, you know why the DC movies have fell flat? There's one very clear reason.
It's because they're all dark and gritty, isn't it?
No. There is a de facto reason that all DC movies pale in comparison to the Marvel movies, at least of up to Phase 3. Do you want to know what it is?
Please inform me.
DC didn't have Stan Lee.
Oh.
Bam. Sorry for blowing your eardrums out there, folks. But I had to lay down that knowledge bomb. You know, Stan Lee made that thing the best. Everyone always, you went to go see that movie for the Stan Lee cameo. There was no other reason you went to see Marvel movies, period.
What are we going to do now that there's not going to be any more Stan Lee?
Well, we've got some news about that, don't we? About how the MCU is happening. There's some stuff. But anyway, well, that was yeah. I never even watched Batman versus Superman because I have no interest in watching a movie that is that garbage. And then the guy who's playing Superman, isn't he not even playing Superman anymore?
No, he is. You're thinking about the Batman actor, Ben Affleck.
No.
I actually posted on
Affleck.
Affleck. Anyway,
But no, I thought the guy who was playing Superman is no longer playing Superman.
no, I believe he still is.
I'm
You're
pretty
thinking
sure there was-
what you're thinking is
No,
you're
no, no. I
thinking
know that the guy who plays Batman is again no longer playing Batman, but the guy who's playing Superman, I'm pretty sure news came out. All right, we're gonna have to look this up because
we'll have to look.
I am
it up.
almost certain that he did like a social media news post or something that he was no longer gonna be Superman.
I think that would piss off everybody.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was the thing. We're gonna have to look that up, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. So basically, DC's whole thing has fallen apart. But controversial opinion here. I liked Suicide Squad. But anyway,
I
moving
like it,
on.
too.
I thought it was just a fun movie. Like, I get that people didn't like it and it had issues, but I was just looking at the movie as a movie. Like, and the Joker was
fun.
garbage. It was just a fun movie. I enjoyed it. Okay, but and we're both going negative with this whole thing. But I'm gonna have to talk about a game that exists and my experience with it, because I think the game now is decent, but at the time of release, it struck me as fetid hot garbage, and I was very disappointed with how this ended up. So let me spin y'all a yarn here. So, oh geez, what was this back in like 2015, 2014, somewhere around there, 2016? I don't know. I'm not good with years.
Not good with math.
Not good with math. There was a game that I was very excited for because it was a massively multiplayer online role-playing game version of a game that I enjoyed.
Wait a second.
You probably know what I'm talking about. What you're doing. So, and this game, I was super excited about it. I had like the wallpaper on my computer, and I was following the news, and I think I pre-ordered, and I know that was the last time I ever pre-ordered anything. I pre-ordered like the special edition or whatever so that I could get like a physical copy and like this little statuette and stuff, and it was going to be really cool. And I played the beta of the game, and it was great. I had a great time. I ran around and I did stuff. And for those of you who don't know, the game I'm talking about is Elder Scrolls Online.
Oh man.
Yes.
Did you get the horse?
Well,
you said you bought the special edition.
I got the special edition. I got the Imperial package. But see, I thought I had bought the special edition, but what I did instead is I bought the digital special edition by accident. So all I got was like some in-game crap that I didn't care for, and I spent a whole bunch of money. And I spent like $80 on this game, and now it's free, which is another kick in the gonads. But whatever. So I played the beta, and then it was great, and I was having a great time. I enjoyed the game. It was like going awesome. And then the beta ends. Get excited. Oh, the release is coming. I like start the download, and I had like really crappy internet back then. So I start the download, and then I go to bed, and I wake up. It's halfway done. I have to go to school or something and come back, and it's finally finished. And I log in to play the game, and it's complete garbage. Okay, so let me explain. Elder Scrolls Online is the type of game that you have to have a guild in order to play. You cannot play that game by yourself, period. It is impossible, or it was when it released. So one of the issues I had with the game when it first came out was that in the beta, when you looted a body, like you actually got loot, and it was, a regular loot system. When it released, you kill like a skeleton, you go to loot the body, 1 gold piece. You kill like this spider, you go loot the body, 1 gold piece. You go and kill a boss, you loot the body, 1 gold piece.
I see a trend here.
Yeah. I mean, you might get like an item for a boss, but don't even get me started on the bosses.
But Cody, those multi-billion-dollar companies, they need to make their
I know.
They need to get their 5th yacht.
Yeah, exactly. They need to have their live services. But so another of the issues is that I was playing a quest, and I got to the boss of the quest, and the only way I could beat the boss was literally run in circles away from the boss while shooting at him for like 30 minutes, because that game was not built for single player, period. You cannot, or you couldn't at least, play that game by yourself, period.
That does not sound fun.
It was not, and I was very disappointed by it. And I tried to join a guild, but at the time I was not near as social as I am now, so it was kind of impossible for me to do that. And as the game had just released, there were no guilds that existed. It was just like you try to have a friend that plays the game too, and you two play together. But you honestly, for some of those bosses, you needed like 4 to 8 players to beat them. So there was just no way you could progress by yourself because it wasn't built for that. But that was my thing that happened that I was super excited for, and my dreams were crushed. But hey, Fallout 76 was good.
I'm just looking at you with disapproval
I
right
can
now.
tell.
I still am not. I will
I'm not angry.
refuse.
I'm just disappointed.
Yeah, exactly. I refuse. Did you know they finally? Did you hear about that whole canvas bag fiasco?
Yes, and it wasn't actually even a canvas bag. It
They
was
actually
like,
fixed it
oh, did they?
8 months after the release.
Awesome. Bethesda. Anyway, let's not get
Oh,
into
boy.
bashing companies. Or
We're about
anything.
to start digging ourselves a rabbit
Yeah,
hole.
let's not do that. Let's actually move on to our news. Now, besides the Mountain Blade Bannerlord, we both got some pretty big stories here. And Matthew, I think I'm going to let you do your story first. I think I know what it is, but go ahead and take it away.
So back to the whole bashing companies things. Apparently Apex Legends, which wow, we're talking about that again. That's been since ages since that game got
So
talked
for
about.
those who don't know, what is Apex Legends?
Apex Legends is a battle royale game made by Respawn Entertainment, the people that made Titanfall 1 and 2, and
They're owned by a certain publisher,
company.
aren't they?
Oh, I wonder who they're owned by.
I wonder.
EA Sports. It's in the game.
It's in my wallet.
Oh my God, Cody. Anyway, so they released a game following Titanfall 2 in a couple years, and they basically jumped onto the whole Battle Royale, Fortnite, Tetris 99.
What? People trying to jump on the success of Fortnite? That's crazy.
I know, right? It's another Battle Royale game, but
Just
this
like
one,
PUBG trying to jump on Fortnite success.
actually, PUBG came first.
I know that was the joke, Matthew.
Actually, if we want to be really honest, it was Minecraft, Hunger Games.
I mean, you're right.
Anyway, so they released a game, Apex Legends. It's a battle royale game with like over 100 players. You can play up to groups of 3. It was actually really decent, and it actually fell in line with the story of Titanfall 2. Introduced a lot of mechanics to the battle royale genre that made it fresh, unique, and it was a really fun game, shockingly. And I'm going to say this right now, when the game first came out, its monetization system wasn't that bad, shockingly, considering it was owned by EA. But at the same time, this was before EA bought them.
Right.
So, what we're going to get
Before
into...
EA got its grubby mitts on this innocent little Fortnite clone.
Oh boy, and then little did they know, the darkness was to soon swarm them.
Yes.
Apex Legend players apparently are not very thrilled with Respawn and EA at the moment because of Apex Legends' change to monetization. A new event had taken place called the Iron Crown Collection, which introduced limited time loot, cosmetic loot to the game that was very distasteful towards the community. The main crown cosmetic of this event, pun intended, was called the Raven's Bite, and it was unfortunately locked behind 24 other items in the event, which BT dubs, after you unlocked all 24 items, which you can only get in supply drops, you had to spend an additional $30 worth of Apex coins to get the item. So you don't just unlock it, you have to also spend money to unlock it. So players estimated that you could spend upwards of at least $170 to upwards of almost $300 or more to get this item.
Excuse me?
Yeah, you heard me right. At the very minimum, you had to at least spend $170 for a cosmetic melee weapon.
Well, all right. I know a lot of other things that I could buy for $170. That is not as garbage as that.
So, needless to say, community members and people on Reddit were not very thrilled with this event. And players immediately took to Reddit to basically voice their upset with Respawn. Yes. However, most developers, how they respawn with stuff is either one...
I see what you did there.
Pun intended. Either A, they just ignore it, in the case of EA and sometimes, or 2, when they do respawn, they just offer the generic, oh, we're sorry, we'll try to do better, which EA originally did do it, but the community kept persisting. They didn't want EA to just do a whole push and shove thing and not expect this to be something that the community hated. However, this time was unique because Respawn not only actually responded to it, pun intended, but they acted extremely colorfully.
I believe a word for it is a flame war.
Yeah, they responded with hate. And these were the community managers that responded to this.
I think it was developers and community managers.
Yeah, it was a mixture of both. Calling players freeloaders, male extremities, and butt hats.
Although with the more
colorful language.
Explicit term.
Yeah, which we will not get into.
Yes.
And yeah, they basically called
butt hats.
Yeah, butt hats. You get the wording. It got so inappropriately based. Like they just pretty much called. I mean, they literally like. I think one of the responses were, "Man, I really wish we could go back in a time where the community didn't feel like they were entitled to things, and that they tried to justify the fact that wow, I don't see why you guys are so upset. You guys are pretty much all freeloaders anyway. Why are you guys so upset over the fact that we're charging you $170 for a melee cosmetic item? I don't understand. You guys are just a bunch of freeloaders."
Yeah, that's not cool.
So, funny enough, that did not garner a very positive
People didn't respond
response.
well to being called names.
Wow.
That's crazy.
And it ended up being such a poor management towards the situation that the CEO of Respawn had to come into the conversation and have to apologize to how the community manager, whose job is supposed to respond positively to the community, was treating its community.
That's pretty crazy. I will say though, I think because I heard a little bit about this story before we did the podcast. In all fairness, there were a lot of bad things being thrown at the developers, like death threats against their families. You should go die, and etc. Online trolling. 7-year-olds screaming at their screens and whatever. But that doesn't excuse their actions here.
I mean,
because a 7-year-old on the internet is expected to say stupid crap like that, but like professional developers and community managers are supposed to not engage with that stuff.
Funny enough, Cody, one of the responses towards it, I remember looking into the comments on the Reddit feed, and one of the persons that pretty much called them out for an earlier comment, calling certain people D-bags. That is a censored explicit word.
Yes.
To anybody. He pretty much was like, I don't get why you're acting this way. You're literally a community manager. This is how you're talking to your consumers. I work in retail games. I worked at retail for years, and I've been calling every name under the book. And if I'd basically told my customer the names that you called us, you would be fired right now.
Yeah.
So he's like, maybe you should. He's like, man, I would love to have been in that set of mind that I'm literally invincible like you think you are. Maybe you need maybe you need to be brought down a level.
Maybe you should work at Walmart or McDonald's for a couple months and see how
that changes your perspective. And then literally the manager actually replied being like, hey, I found the D-bag I was talking about.
Yeah, that's just a bad situation all around. But hey, that's what happens when people get bought by EA.
Yay.
You get a big publisher trying to push hostile, actual policies onto these little companies that are just trying to do their best. And then they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. There ain't nothing they can do about it except, well, I guess they definitely could have reacted to this situation better, but...
To the viewers, let this be a lesson. When you face criticism, it is important to stay professional in the situation where you are under stress, because if you react in a form of unprofessionalism or just act really rude towards your consumers or your audience, it can gather some not so positive feedback.
Well, negativity breeds negativity.
So don't add negativity.
Kill them with kindness. While it's cheesy and sounds stupid, it works. Trust me. Nothing feels better than having a customer who has quote unquote an issue, which is just them trying to take advantage of you and get free stuff, nothing feels better than stonewalling them with kindness and then them walking away and you saying, "Have a nice day." That is the
I've had
best
that
feeling
happen.
in the world when you get to tell a person who should not interact with people ever, "Have a nice day."
Yeah.
the best.
Speaking of having a nice day, Cody,
Yes.
I feel like you're about to ruin my nice
I
day
am.
with your
Well,
story.
I mean, we've been pretty negative this podcast.
This is gonna just be all dark and gloomy. I'm gonna put like a frowny face
We've
emoji.
turned into DC.
Oh god, it's so dark and foreboding. Just like are we in the DC?
Foreboding.
Foreboding.
All right. Well, yeah, I don't have the greatest news here. So as we were talking about earlier, the MCU, it was pretty good for a while, but now things are starting to fall apart just a little bit. And I'm sure you've all probably heard about this, at least in some form or another. There's already memes scouring the internet about this. But yes, the story we're covering today is, as of today, August 23rd, when this comes out, Spider-Man is no longer part of the MCU because Sony and Marvel, well, I guess to correct myself, Sony and Disney could not reach an agreement.
Now, just to say something real quick, that does not mean that we won't see him, because currently, if you go back as far as the MCU, like when you go into back to that 2015 thing, that doesn't mean we won't see, like, like Far Away From Home, that's it. They're just going to reboot it because it got approved for 3 movies and then like 2
Yes.
Avengers movies.
And I am going to cover this as well. It is a little strange, and currently we don't know the situation because there is still a lot of negotiations going on at the current moment. But so let me explain to this as best I can. However, when I was writing this, the jury was still out on exactly what caused it. Sony saying this, Disney saying that. The current consensus online, as far as I can see, is that it's Sony's fault because they wouldn't give Disney what they were owed, quote unquote. But I'll get into it. So the reason for the split, as current as I could find on, I forgot to put down the website, but it was a story written by Boris Kitt. It was like, I don't remember the name of the website that published it. But the headline was Spider-Man Studios, Sony goes public with Marvel movie divorce, in quotations, we are disappointed exclusive. So from what these guys said, and I checked a couple sources, it seems, like I said, it's not quite determined what caused it, but apparently the reason for the split is that the studio chiefs, Tom Rothman of Sony and Alan Horn of Disney, could not come to an agreement on how to distribute the revenue generated by future films. So, from what is thought, Sony wanted the deal to remain how it was, with Marvel getting Disney, with Disney getting 5% of the first dollar gross, which I assume just means like when it's out in theaters, Disney gets 5% of the money that makes, as well as all merchandising revenue. While Sony takes the rest. Well, Disney wanted a bigger slice of the pie and reportedly wanted just a 50-50 split, from what I could tell, of all revenue. Again, when these are negotiations, things change, offers change and stuff, so this could be slightly inaccurate, but just look it up when you're reading this, and you'll probably when you're listening to this, and you'll probably get more accurate information. So, at the time of telling you guys this, from what it seems like the talks between the studios has collapsed, and it doesn't seem like they could reignite anytime soon. However, there is a good chance that this could revert, because when companies are fighting and negotiating, they're always trying to stonewall each other until they realize they've made a huge mistake, which I believe Sony has probably made a huge mistake here, because Sony's most successful film ever in its history of existence is Spider-Man Far From Home. It has made the most money ever for Sony, and it's still going. And then they decided this was a great time to cut out the reason that they were making money, which was the MCU. I do believe that the only reason Spider-Man Far From Home did as well as it did, personally, is just because of coming off the heels of Endgame, and people wanted to see what was the next chapter, because the movie itself, it's a good movie. It's just, it's a pretty standard movie from what I could tell. Well, this is not reviewing the movie, but the movie it's good, but it's not Endgame levels, you know.
Well, yeah.
But so that movie has made the most money for Sony ever, and they decided that they wanted to go ahead and cut off their deal. So from what Sony is saying, the part of the reason for the split is occurring because Disney's recent acquisition of 21st Century Fox and all the time and effort being spent on that they just don't have enough time to work out a good deal.
Bull crap.
Yeah, there's a lot of different information being thrown around right now, but so at the current time of the podcast being uploaded, it seems like Spider-Man may not be in the MCU anymore, and Tom Holland's Spider-Man may fizzle and die. There's a good chance that there will be more Tom Holland movies. Sony has said that it will continue with Spider-Man, but without the MCU backing it up, I mean, we've seen what Sony wants to do with Spider-Man. We've seen it.
Ooh.
And while the first set of Spider-Man movies were okay, the second set of Spider-Man movies were not.
Not very good.
They've got a good template. They've got a good actor. But, I mean, Tom Holland is part of the MCU. And without that, he's just going to be losing a large chunk of his character.
I will want to go ahead and, for the defense of Sony here, I'm going to bat up to Sony in the defense of them.
Mm-hmm.
They also, and one statistic you did not mention, is with that before that 2015 deal, they also handled 100% of production costs of the film. So as far as like the cost and stuff, so Kevin Feige produces the films, and which Sony on their actual Sony pictures, Facebook, Twitter page, they actually responded to all of this controversy, which they don't usually do. They mentioned what you said earlier is Kevin Feige is no longer going to be producing future films with us, and that was because of the 21st Century Fox deal.
Yeah.
But one thing that just to keep in mind, folks, is Sony with the 2015 deal, they handled all of the production costs. And they took 95% of the revenue for the film. 5% would go to Disney for gross dollars, and Disney would get all merchandising deals.
Yeah, so the deal honestly seemed pretty okay to me.
The original deal or the new deal?
The original deal. Although I'm not entirely sure that Sony did cover all the production costs.
They did. That was part of the original deal.
Entirely certain about that, personally. But with Disney getting the merchandising revenue, I feel like that is a huge, huge thing that they would be able to profit on. So it's not one studio's fault, from what I can tell. It's just both of them are
bickering,
greedy, and should just shut up and make good movies. As far as I'm concerned, they're both filthy, stinking rich, so they can take it. But
just let Sony do its thing.
That's my opinion. That's the news here. I am excited though to see what Disney does with all of its new Marvel acquisitions, like X-Men and Deadpool was part of Fox. Yeah, X-Men, Deadpool. What else did the Fox
X-Men? They had Fantastic Four, which is great because we'll finally get to see a good version of Fantastic Four. Hopefully.
Okay, I didn't hate the first takes on Fantastic Four.
Have you watched the reboot?
The reboot, I have no interest in having anything to do with that. But the first original ones, they weren't bad. They could be better, but they weren't terrible. I don't think.
They screwed up Doctor Strange so bad for that film that they should be sued.
Doctor Strange?
Yep, totally. Sorry, I just butchered it.
It's all right. Which one?
Doctor Doom.
Ah, Doctor Doom. Yes.
Doctor Doom.
But so yeah, that's our news for today. Very kind of sad news going on here, but
let's lighten it up a little.
Let's lighten it up with an argument.
Oh boy!
And we got pretty heated over the phone when we were discussing this. But before we begin, of course, we're going into our classic everyone loves our versus segment. We have to discuss the results of last week's versus segment. So.
Last time I checked, I think it was a tie, wasn't it?
I do believe last time I checked it was a tie, but I am checking right now to make sure. And of course, if you guys ever want to participate in these, you can go to our Facebook group or our Twitter and just like and follow and whatever. And when you see the post, you can let us know your opinion. But as of right now, the current results of the subs versus dubs debate is... Oh, go away, Facebook. Pop up. And click on that. It is a tie.
Woo!
So it's
Nobody's
a tie
wrong.
1-1, which is fair, yeah, because it's all subjective with subs versus dubs. There's no definitive answer for
Except
this.
dubs. Dubs is best.
Well, that's your favorite, but subs are my favorite.
But they're also dubs are better.
No, apparently not. They're 50-50, Matthew.
In my
So basically what we're trying to say is you should enjoy your anime any way you want.
Oh, hashtag humble.
However, with this next debate, you are factually wrong if you think in a different way than I do.
Oh my god. Jeebus.
Okay, so this is not anything to do with geekiness, or I guess kind of geekiness, but like not gaming or entertainment. This is the classic, the unforgettable, the always around debate between whether water is wet or not. Now, Matthew.
Oh my god.
Water is wet. Change
Water
my mind.
is not wet.
Water is wet. Change my mind.
Water cannot be wet. Can air be dry?
Yes.
No.
Don't you watch the weather and the news?
Humidity.
Yeah, it's gonna be dry out there today.
Okay,
Oh, it's a dry heat.
Let's go look up the
Oh,
definition.
He's looking
Shall
up
we?
stuff. Go for it.
Let's go
for
ahead.
it.
Let's go ahead. Definition.
Go for it.
Covered or saturated with water or another liquid.
And what is water saturated with? 100% water. So it's 100% wet.
No, it says to cover something. You
It
don't
is covered
cover
in
water with water.
Water is covered
That does
in
not
water.
make sense.
Water is water, so it's covered in water, Matthew.
No,
yeah.
you're adding water.
Doesn't matter. Okay.
That's not covering.
Okay.
You can't cover
So
air with
Matthew.
air.
Yeah, you can.
No, you just add
If
to
you
it.
take a just, a random section of air and there's air over here and you make a breeze, the air gets pushed.
Okay, let me
and
use
it
another
swirls
example.
together.
What do I use another example? Here, that shirt right there.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
see that?
Yeah, you see that shirt?
What is it?
It's a shirt.
But also, what is it?
I don't know. It's a green shirt. No,
Is
that's
it
pants.
dry?
Yes.
What happens if
believe
I add
so.
water to it?
It becomes wet.
Okay, now what happens? Now you see that water right there?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's water.
Yes.
What happens if I add water to it?
It's still wet.
Yeah, because it's always in a constant...
It's always wet.
Yeah,
It's-
that's the thing.
It's a constant
That's
state of
the thing.
100% wet.
That's the thing with water. That's the thing that makes something wet and just inherently like if it's in a constant, it has to be in a pre-existing
Matthew,
state.
you're factually wrong.
It has to be in a pre-existing state
Okay.
beforehand.
All right,
Before
let
you
me
can
go
make
back.
something.
Let me
wet.
go back to the air example. You have dry air and you have wet air. Wet air is called humid air. You know why? Because it has water in it. And you know why water makes something wet? Because water is 100% wet.
Oh my
End
God.
of discussion.
Water, it's in itself cannot be wet.
You're wrong. Water is wet.
But if other materials make it wet, and it's
Matthew, water is wet.
no,
It is the de facto wet.
water isn't wet because it is a liquid that wets things. Once you come into contact with water, you become wet. Until then, water is a liquid.
Water is it is a endless state of wet. When there is a droplet of water, that droplet of water is 100% wet. Because it's
Being
water.
a liquid, water itself.
Matthew, you're
cannot
reading
be
off
wet.
stuff, but this is a debate between me and you, so you need to use your own logic here because you're wrong. Water is wet. End of story.
No, that's not how water works.
That is. Water is wet because it makes things wet. You know why it makes things wet? Because it itself is 100%. Okay, so let me say it this way. So you have water, right? And it's 100% wet. And then you have a shirt that's 100% dry because, well, I don't know if it'd be 100% dry, but it's like 99.8% dry or whatever. So you add that water to that shirt. And if you put a shirt underwater, it's wet because water is wet.
Water, you cannot make water itself. Water itself
You
is
don't
just
have
a
to
liquid.
make it wet because it's already wet.
No, that's not how that
Yeah,
works.
it is. All right. Well, that is our debate for today. That's our versus segment. So please go to our social media pages, Facebook, Twitter, and let us know what you think. Is water wet? Yes, it is. So if you vote for yes, then you are factually correct. If you vote for no, then you are wrong. And good
You're
luck
correct.
with the future.
I'd be proud of you. If I don't win this one, I will be
Matthew's not won one of these.
pissed.
So just, just be, I know you know that water is wet, but just for Matthew's sake, to make him feel better, go ahead and vote for his.
Oh, yeah.
I'm okay to take this one. I know, we all know water is wet, but just make Matthew feel better.
Yeah.
Let
You're
him
just
know.
setting that up so that way you can be like, oh, if I lost, yeah, it's because everybody pitied you.
I don't know what you're talking about, Matthew.
Fight me. Catch
All
me
right.
outside. How about that?
All right.
Oh, dear.
Well, that's all we've got for this episode of Back from the Grid podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching today. We want to thank our lovely sponsor, 100% Wet Water.
Oh, my God. You know what? Fight me. I will, corkscrew your...
we can play some video games and go head to head. But I think that's it. So, Matthew, do you have anything to say before we get off of this podcast?
Pineapples.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Water is 100% wet. And
No,
we're looking
you're
forward to
wrong.
seeing you in
You're
the
wrong.
next exciting episode of the Back from the Grid podcast. Thanks for listening.
You're wrong.
Water is wet.
No, fight me.